Another edition of This Day in Black Baseball History with Phil Dixon. This is my December the 13th edition, December the 13th, 2025. Just want to thank everybody for joining. And yeah, we do this as often as we can get together. Let you know about this great history of African American baseball players. Maybe you've been reading books, maybe you've been listening to documentaries or whatever. However, I'm giving you history that happened day by day. And a lot of the comments that I'm going to attach here come from things I've studied over my 45 years as a historian related closely to this topic. So I just want to thank everybody for joining today. And if you join and you stay around for a minute, 60 seconds, or you stay around for 5 minutes, or you stay around for the whole broadcast. Certainly appreciate you all. So we're going to jump right in here because I got a lot of good stuff I want to talk about today. So let's go and get busy with this history. All right, so you ready? Here we go. December the 13th, 1919. In helping the Baltimore Y Big Five basketball team defeat the New York All-Stars, Malcolm Scrappy Brown poured in 8 baskets for 16 points in his team's 77-15 victory. Now, I don't know how much you know about Scrappy Brown. Scrappy Brown, well, you can tell from his name, he was quite the character, Scrappy Brown. Scrappy Brown was a great shortstop for various teams. Actually, he might have played for about 7 different Negro League teams between 1920 and 1930. But he also played basketball in the off season, and he was quite the basketball player. So, but most people know him and through the baseball as a shortstop. And so I always love to talk about the ability that these men had to play multi sports. So in the case of Brown, here you have a great basketball player, and he had a distinguished basketball career. I don't know if he was better at basketball or baseball, but he played both of them well. So and in his baseball career, he played for like the Washington Braves. He played for Hilldale out of Darby, Pennsylvania, and he spent a considerable amount of time with the Baltimore Black Sox. His name is Malcolm Scrappy Brown. Go ahead and look him up, guys. That's just one more person that we need to talk about in this whole baseball experience. And the thing about the Negro Leagues, there is where people are pretty much focused on. I would say now, I can remember when it used to be about 12 players, but now it's about 100 players that people just keep focusing on. But see, one guy is not a team. So you have all these other people on the team who are leading interesting lives. So I like to talk about them. So guys, if you're joining me, go ahead and put in the city that you're from. That always helps, and I might even tell you something about something I know about that particular city that's related to this topic. All right, so let's go to the next fact we have. Okay, and I always do a coming and going kind of thing. And a coming is someone who's born on this date, someone who's passed away on this date. I call that a going. So I'm going to go ahead with one of my I guess we're going to call it one of my comings here. Okay. So December 13th, 1923. And by the way, that first fact comes from December 13th, 1919. Okay, so this is December 13th, 1923. Lawrence Eugene Doby, a.k.a. Larry Doby, is born in Camden, South Carolina. Now, you probably know a lot about Doby. If I had to say he's in that top 100 players from the Negro Leagues that are talked about pretty frequently, yeah, definitely Larry Doby is in there. Of course, he had a Negro League career and a career in the American League with Cleveland, and he also played for the White Sox. But anyway, he led the American League in home runs with 32 in 1952. Now, what a lot of people don't realize is that Larry Doby in 1962, so we're talking about 10 years later, he's out of the National League, or the American League in his case, and he goes to Japan, plays for the Dragons there in the Nippon Professional Baseball League, and he gets there, and for the first time, they have 2 American major league players on a Japanese team. And so he's there with Don Newcomb. And I had the honor of interviewing both of those guys, and I have things signed by both of those men. So I got a chance to actually talk about their experience in Japan. So I wish I would have spent more time interviewing them on that experience. Of course, I didn't get a chance to. There's so much to talk about and so little time to interview them. So, okay, so somebody says, hey, I'm from Brazil. All right, then. And okay. All right, somebody said they'd like to know my opinion on whether English or Portuguese is easier. Unfortunately, I can't speak Portuguese, so I can't help you there. All right. Okay, so let's go to another one, 1928. So this is going to be December 13th, 1928. All right. So Coach Fred Long of the Wiley Wildcats, and that's HBCU, the Wiley University Wildcats, picked his annual All-Southwest College All-Star team. And the list included 2 Negro League players. One of them is going to be L.D. Livingston, Larry Livingston. He was a right end on the team, on his all-conference team. And the other one would be Hallie Harden. He was picked as the region's best quarterback. Now, remember, these guys played baseball in the summer. And Livingston played for the New York Black Yankees, and of course, he played for the Kansas City Monarchs in my area. Hallie Harden played for the Kansas City Monarchs, but he played for the Bacharach Giants out of Philadelphia, that particular Bacharach Giants. And he was famous as a sports writer as well. So those were 2 players that he picked. So they were good enough to be all conference in football, and they were pretty good baseball players. I think I know in the case of Livingston, he was on the Kansas City Monarchs team in 1929 that won the pennant there, and then they went down and played the Houston Buffaloes, I believe, for the World Championship, and of course they beat Houston. So anyway, yeah, so I don't know how much you know about those 2 guys. I will say that Hallie Harden, interesting guy, he's from the same state I'm from. He was born in Wichita, Kansas. I was born in Kansas City, Kansas. And so he's a Kansan, so I always have to give a little special favor toward my Kansans. So now, in addition to football, he played quarterback. He also played basketball. He appeared for different teams around Chicago, but he also appeared with the New York Renaissance as well. So this Hallie Harden was an all-around athlete, and later on he became a great sports reporter, and he covered boxing very well. He went to the Olympic Auditorium and covered boxing right through the late 40s and 50s. Hallie Harden, just that's it, Harding. That's another name you ought to remember. And some of these guys I've been able to talk about quite a bit because we're just finishing up with football and we're going to go into basketball. So you're going to hear some of their names again. So I still got people joining me, and let's see, somebody coming in. They have all kind of comments. Here's the thing, guys. If you come into a broadcast like this, we're serious about sports here. You know, I know you guys have a lot of things on your mind, but you need to go out to those places and talk about them. I can go ahead and delete you out of here, and I may end up doing that, so you can't come on with these kind of comments. But if you have some serious sports questions, this is a place you want to be. We're trying to unify people through the arena of sports and enlighten people on the contributions of African Americans in sports history. So this is what we do here. We're not doing some of the things that you guys who just have nothing else to do. But if you don't have anything else to do, pick up a baseball book. Hey, look, I'll be happy to let you read one of my books if that helps you out. And so I have about 9 books that I'm working on right now. But I'm trying to tell history, guys, okay? So anyway, let's keep on rolling with this, all right? And I'm going to go here, and I'm going to take one guy out of here, okay? I'm just going to remove him, all right? All right, then. Okay, so let's go to December 13th, 1931. And this guy played when I was growing up. I think I saw him. I can't be for sure, but I think I did. I used to go to the game all the time here in the Kansas City's Municipal Stadium. So I saw a lot of guys play. So, all right. So anyway, his name was Wycliffe Nathaniel Morton, a.k.a. Bubba Morton. And he is born in Washington, D.C. on this date, December 13, 1931. Of course, he was an outfielder for the Tigers, Braves, and Angels. And how about that? How about this? Before he played for those teams, he had already made history. Is the first black player to play for the Durham Bulls, and that was in 1957. And so this guy was, when we're watching these players during the 1960s, and we're purchasing their baseball cards, we had no idea of the history that they had made. And you just couldn't find it in books. I'm trying to tell you. So that's the reason why I'm enjoying talking to you now about some of these things. So all right, I'm gonna take a look here at some of these comments. Let's see. So we're gonna remove another one here. Okay. All right then. So let's keep it rolling here. So I don't know how much you know about Bubba Morton. Yeah, I think I picked him up with the Angels where I first saw him. All right. Okay, let's keep it rolling. Now, guys, if you like what I'm doing here, go ahead and subscribe. If you're here for any other reason other than sports, keep moving. Keep moving. Keep moving along, guys. We're interested in sports and sports history. We're trying to enlighten people on these contributions, right? And this is things that happen all over America. So you're looking here, and I'm talking about Bubba Morton, born in Washington D.C., right? And then I'm talking about someone playing baseball in Japan, and I'm talking about someone who was a long-term baseball player with the Baltimore Black Sox. We're all over the country, right? And then of course I'm wearing a Kansas City Monarch hat here, and so I'm talking about the Kansas City Monarchs as well. All right, so we're going to keep it going. How about this? December 13, 1943. This is another one of those guys who was born on this date, all right? Ferguson, middle initial A. Jenkins, a.k.a. Fergie Jenkins, is born in Chenham, Ontario, Canada. And this guy had 20-win seasons for the Cubs in 1967 and 1962. How about 20 wins 6 straight years? And he's the only pitcher that, now correct me if I'm wrong, somebody, he's the only pitcher in Major League Baseball history to record 3,000 strikeouts while issuing fewer than 1,000 walks. Okay, he was just overpowering, and this guy was just a great player. And I had the honor of speaking with him on many occasions. I know I was down in Guthrie, Oklahoma, and I was talking to some people, and they said, "Well, he used to live in Guthrie," which he did. And so finally, when I talked to him, I asked him, I said, "Why'd you move from Guthrie?" And I forget where he had moved to, but he left Oklahoma. He said he couldn't do the tornadoes, too many tornadoes in Oklahoma. So he said had to leave there. But he did live in Guthrie, Oklahoma. And so, but he was a native of Canada. Man, we're all over the world today. We went from Japan to Canada and the United States. We're just rolling along. I'm surprised I don't have somebody who played in Mexico coming up here. All right. So anyway, yeah, that was Ferguson Jenkins, and he became the first Canadian pitcher to win a Cy Young Award. Okay, he first ever achieved that feat. All right, I'm gonna take a look here right quick in case somebody has mentioned where they joined. And go ahead and mention where you're from, guys. I would appreciate that. All right, that helps me a little bit to know where you guys are from and what kind of reach I have here. And once again, if you like baseball, this is a good place to come. Especially guys like me, I subscribe to the baseball channel. And sometimes the conversation gets pretty dull. So when I come on, I'm not going to give you kind of the same conversation they're giving you, right? I want to give you something that's a little more, well, it's not topical generally, but it's certainly entertaining in that it's baseball history. And if you like trivia kind of facts, I'm loaded with those. So, all right, so let's keep it going, all right? Okay, so we are now to December 13th, 1956. All right, now, I've been at this history for a number of years, guys. So I was born in 56. So this happened a few months after I was born. Jackie Robinson is sold to a rival New York Giants, the rival New York Giants. Of course, he played with the Brooklyn Dodgers for a reported $30,000, and pitcher Dick Littlefield. And Littlefield, I don't know if you remember Dick Littlefield. Interesting thing, Jackie, instead of going to the Giants, decides to retire. And I don't know if this nullified the trade or whatever, but Littlefield went on to pitch 48 games in 1957. All of those games were kind of in relief action for the Chicago Cubs. So I don't think he ever made it to the New York Giants in 57. So kind of interesting thing. Jackie Robinson, as you know, well, you can find all kind of things on Jackie Robinson. One thing, in case you've been sleeping and not following baseball history at all, his number 42 that he wore for the Brooklyn Dodgers is now retired all over the American and National League, and no one can wear that number. Is their regular number now. It is retired all over the league. So, like I said, unless you've been under a rock, you wouldn't know this, all right? Okay, but if you've been following baseball, American baseball, you're going to know that, okay? Somebody said they're watching from USA. Okay, that's real broad, but, we have 50 states here, so I might have come to your state, so go ahead and drop in there, okay? Okay, so, all right, so we're keeping it going. Okay, so I have one more thing that I want to add today, and then I'm going to close it off. I actually try to finish about 20 minutes, guys. I know everybody's busy, and these days people have very short attention spans. So I try not to keep you here too long, but I try to pack everything in about 20 minutes. And if you want to hear more, you can always, like say, for instance, you're joining me not live, but say you're coming back for listening to the rebroadcast, guys, you can stay a while. But make sure if you like what I'm doing, go ahead and subscribe, all right? Okay, so this is the last one for the day, and I think it's a pretty interesting one. So sometimes you got to save the best for last. Okay, so December 13th, 1975, Alex Leo Herman, and he was a college and professional baseball player. He died in Mobile, Alabama. Now here's the thing. If you go to the Google and you put in Alex Herman and say maybe put a comma and put Negro League, you're not going to find much. So what I'm going to give you right here is more than you will find even if you went to AI. Okay, so here's what we got. Okay, so first of all, I didn't get a chance to interview him, but I did interview his wife. And his wife, her name was Gloria. So I interviewed his wife, and years ago, and this was probably in the 80s, that I interviewed her, and she gave me some interesting facts about her husband. So here's what I'm going to tell you. So first of all, he is the man who signed Satchel Paige. Now, there are two guys who kind of take responsibility, but both of these guys were on the same team. They were on the Chattanooga White Sox of the Negro Southern League, and that was in 1926. And they were the ones who brought Satchel Paige into prominence. And that is Professor Lowell, who I interviewed, and I interviewed Herman's wife. So Lowell gave me a lot of information. Professor Lowell, I interviewed him in Memphis. This is probably around I want to say 84 or something like that, somewhere around in there that I interviewed him. All right. That was Professor Lowe. So these guys discovered Satchel Paige. Now, there was a story, I think it was 48, I believe it was, that Satchel Paige offered $500 to anyone who could prove that he pitched before 1927, because he always said 1927 was his first year of professional ball. And there was a guy who was able to find out that Satchel pitched for the Chattanooga team. Now, they said the Chattanooga Black Lookouts, but it was really the Chattanooga White Sox. And so he ended up winning $500, and Satchel had to pay that money to him, right? So this just kind of gives you an idea of some of the history. Now with all this power we have now at our fingertips, we can solve those kind of questions real easy. But back then, it was a little tougher to go out and solve some of these questions. So Satchel ended up, like I said, giving up the $500 to the guy. And somewhere along the line, I have that guy's name somewhere. So anyway, so that was part of this story, okay? So now let's keep on going. So Satchel signed with the Chattanooga White Sox in 1926. Now, who was Herman? Alex Herman. A lot of people don't know about Alex Herman, but he was with one of the teams that I have followed closely through the years, and that is Robert P. Gilkerson's uh, Union Giants, called the Gilkerson Union Giants. They were out of Spring Valley, Illinois. I had the pleasure of going to Spring Valley. I've even gone to where Gilkerson was buried. Now, recently, Sabre put a monument there, but when I went, there was no monument. I do remember going out to there to the cemetery, and one of the guys who worked for the cemetery, he came out and we walked out to the place, and we kind of identified where um, Gilson was buried. Now, Gilkerson committed suicide. Um, and so I knew this, and I also stopped by the house he was living when he committed suicide. That house is still there. And this is all in Spring Valley, Illinois. I was up there speaking. I spoke in Peru, Illinois, and it was one other town that I spoke in, right in all of it, right in that area. So Spring Valley, Illinois. And so Herman left Mobile, Alabama, and he was a former Tuskegee College student, and he went and played in 1922 with the Gilkerson Union Giants. Now, it was an interesting thing. There was a game on August 16, 1922, where the Gilkerson Union team beat Sauk City, Wisconsin, 13-6. And in that particular game, I'm telling you, Herman could be a great player. Herman went 5 for 5, scored 4 runs, hit a double and a triple. And Herman was a great second baseman. He came back the next year with Charlie Williams, who was out of Mobile. Charlie ended up being in the Negro Leagues, and also Professor William Lowell. And so Lowell was a college guy, and of course Charlie Williams from Mobile, and a great player. I will probably end up talking about him sometime, and I'm going to talk about Professor Lowell more and more and more. He was the one that also uh, found Verdell Mathis. All right. So anyway, so Herman was a good ball player. So how about this? He returned to the Gilkerson Union Giants in 1923 for a second season, and then 1924 he returned again. This time he brought a guy with him by the name of George Harney, and George Harney was also a college player. Okay, and so he played his third and final season with the Union Giants in 1924. Okay, and he also played one additional season and in 25. Now in 1926, he shows up and he's in the leadership with the Chattanooga White Sox of this newly formed Negro Southern League, and he's there with Professor Lowe, and I think Charlie Williams was there as well. But more than anything else, people remember this team because it was Satchel Paige's first team. Satchel Paige got his start there. So anyway, so that was Herman, and I have a whole file on Alex Herman. Man, all kind of good stuff. I will tell you this. You might find this interesting. I think I have it here somewhere. Let's see where I have it here. Okay, I know he attended. Let's see, what I want to say. I'm looking for, because his daughter, he had a daughter that served in the Clinton administration as the Secretary of Labor. That was his daughter. She just passed away April this year. And so I never had a chance to talk to her. I wish I had of. But yeah, that was Alex Herman's daughter. And he spent many years in the insurance business. And I think when I talked to his wife, she had all these great stories. One story that you will not find, you can dig for this for as much as you want to. He was involved in the movement to get black people to vote in Mobile, Alabama. And so the first guy who went down there Herman went down there, and because he was so light he could pass, he was able to vote. So he became the first person post-Reconstruction to vote in an election in Mobile, Alabama. But that went under the radar. Now, his wife told me this story, and she said the second guy went down there who was obviously not very light and complected. He was dark complected. He ended up getting beat up and never got a chance to vote. So the first person to vote in post Reconstruction Mobile, Alabama was Alex Herman. So, all right. So this is a name that, you won't think much about this name. If you, like I said, you won't find much on his baseball career. I probably told you more about his baseball career today than you can find if you go out and do research online, right? But this is someone you want to know about, and he needs to be remembered like all of these men I mentioned today. So, guys, that kind of does it for me. I've spent a little more time on the Alex Herman than I thought I would, but it's important that we talk about it. So, all right. So, as I go out, I'm going to see if there's anybody who wanted to say anything. Somebody said they're from Pennsylvania, Sauk City. Uh, yep, Sauk City. I don't know if anybody's ever went to Wisconsin. I've been up there and spoken Madison and a few other places in Wisconsin, Milwaukee, and somebody says he's from Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania, oh man, a great baseball region. I tell you what, you stay with me, you'll learn so much about Pennsylvania and baseball. It's ridiculous. So, of course, the Homestead Grays, you probably know about all those guys, but there were many more players who played for teams, and you might call these minor teams. One of my favorite pitchers comes out of Pennsylvania, Emmett Bowman. He dies early, but he was a 40-game winner back in 1905. Just a great player. So, yeah. So, guys, that does it for me. And all right, somebody says, T-Man, what's up? What an honor to talk to you on the chat. All right, I appreciate that. And guys, I appreciate all of you. And I appreciate if you stuck with me 25 minutes. And guys, we started back in I guess it was early August doing these broadcasts, and then somewhere I wrote it into this day in Black baseball history. But periodically, I'll give you other history as well. But I certainly enjoy this, and I'm almost looking forward to coming on and see what I could talk about related to baseball. And when I start talking about these multi-sport guys, playing football and basketball and playing for teams that you never heard of, the Renaissance, and most people heard the Harlem Globetrotters, but they were just one team. You got to know about the Savoy Big Ballroom Five and all these teams that play for the Y and especially the black professional football teams. You're going to get all of that here, and you can't get it anywhere else in this concise of a broadcast. All right, so I can tell you a little bit about a lot of things, but believe me, guys, you are helping me to tell this story by being here. So that kind of does it for me, guys. I am about out of here, and I want to thank you for joining. You have a nice evening, and I'm probably going to go in here and see if I can catch a little college football or something, and I'll just call it a day. So thank you, guys. Have a nice evening. This is Phil Dixon with This Day in Black Baseball History. This is the December 13th, 2025 edition. Have a nice evening. See you real soon.